The military regime in Myanmar says more than 3,000 people are now known to have been killed in last week's devastating earthquake. China and Russia have made significant contributions to the disaster relief, but there's been a noticeable absence of support, and that is from the United States, where President Donald Trump has dismantled the federal agency responsible for overseas aid.
1 week on from Myanmar's massive earthquake, and the need for aid is desperate. Thousands of quake survivors have lost everything, with no access to food, water or shelter.
I haven't got anything I need so far. I added my name to a list. We need drinking water. I haven't received anything.
We want international assistance. I want food and a place to stay. For now, we must queue and get some food so we can eat.
Huge damage to infrastructure, combined with Myanmar's ongoing civil war, present major challenges in aid access. But the absence of support from the United States, which until recently was the world's biggest humanitarian donor, is also being felt. USAID, the government department responsible for international assistance, has been almost entirely dismantled under the Trump administration, leaving staffers unable to coordinate a response. Many were packing up their offices in Washington on the day the earthquake hit.
This region in particular is of strategic importance to the United States. That's why there's some irony in this, that we chose at this moment not to be present and not to provide the assistance and the expertise that we normally do. I feel that that sends, regrettably, a signal.
Former US officials say while it was unlikely the junta would have allowed big US military teams to enter Myanmar, Washington could have responded more quickly and robustly were it not for the cuts. But other nations are filling that void, notably China and Russia. Beijing has provided more than $13 million in support, with Chinese rescue teams among the first on the ground. Russia has set up a temporary hospital with dozens of rescue teams deployed to help. At least a dozen other nations have also sent support. The UN is now appealing for more urgent aid on the ground in Myanmar. With monsoon season just around the corner, it warns there's no time to waste.
Well, joining me now is Phelim. Kine. He's the DC-based China correspondent for Politico. It's good to have you with us. This really is the first time that the U.S. has not responded meaningfully to a major disaster. No USAID this time. How big of an impact has this absence had so far?
I think what we're looking at here is a tragic exhibit A of what happens when the U.S. essentially kneecaps or dismantles its international disaster response system. I mean, USAID is a central component to the response system for disasters worldwide. It has decades of experience in doing so. It has resources, expertise, personnel. They didn't show up. And so what do we know? We know that this disaster happened, and there's no one to answer the phone in DC at USAID. There's no one to deploy the teams because the teams have been sent home. So in the end, what did the people of Myanmar get? They got 3 people, advisors, not rescuers. We can only guess how many people have died because of this lack of U.S. intervention.
And this really does speak to the importance that the kind of aid that the USAID provides or would have provided, the importance of that in the first hours after a disaster. And the absence, if I'm understanding you right, is a matter of life and death.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, the USAID has these disaster assistance response teams that can deploy moving equipment, can deploy up to 200 specialized teams equipped with dogs, canine teams that can locate people who are buried in rubble. it didn't happen. Those people weren't deployed. So we lost those golden hours when, after something like an earthquake, when you have people trapped under rubble, trapped inside buildings, you only have the clock is ticking in terms of how long those people can survive. And they didn't get a chance because of this. All credit to Beijing and to Moscow for being there, but frankly, their efforts don't hold a candle to what USAID can do and could have done if it was still moving.
And we have to say, though, with the U.S. pulling back from its humanitarian commitments, China is trying to fill this void here. What kind of shift does that signal, would you say, on a broader scale? I mean, this is a paradigm shift.
Look, there are some things that China does very well. China does infrastructure very well. China does peacekeeping very well. China is new to this field of international disaster response. They're clearly trying. We need to give them a hat tip for that. But you have to remember that USAID is a system, a complex system that evolved over a period of decades. That has the personnel, has the equipment, it has the expertise, and it's also like a force multiplier. I mean, USAID comes in and it can line up the UN, it can line up non-governmental organizations, it can line up its partner organizations on the ground wherever it's working to get things going quickly and smoothly and efficiently. And look, USAID can bring in elements of the Pentagon. They can bring in Black Hawk helicopters or Chinook helicopters to bring massive amounts of goods, whether it's tents or bed nets or food. And, Beijing doesn't seem to have that yet.
Phelim, eventually we're out of time, but we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight. Phelim, Kine, thank you.